Welcome, and today we are going to be talking about Victoria Jane human design. And the most important part of these React videos is to understand if this person is a good person to learn human design from, or should you subscribe to them. So, if you go to this person's page, they actually made great effort to visually be there for you, but it looks like they kind of got started and then they stopped. Let's see if
Waiting for the response.
Okay, so this is their most popular video. It has thousands of views, so we might as well watch it. Depending on how slow she talks, we might speed it up. So, visual is nice. Audio is kind of crap, but that's all right. Um, we can turn it up though. Let's see what it sounds like turned up.
Versus waiting for the invitation.
Turning it back down. Going back. And we are going to put the playback speed at 1.5 just to see. Because we already know the audio is bad. Let's check the content now.
Waiting for the response versus waiting for the invitation. What's the difference? Hi, I'm Victoria Jane, and welcome to my human design channel.
Okay, I already want to react to the fact that she actually didn't title her video properly. What's the difference between waiting to respond and waiting for the invitation is very different than just explaining this. But that's okay. Let's move on. We're going to get more than we bargained for then.
Where we talk about how to embody our design for more vitality and ease.
My ADHD, self diagnosed, is very distracted by the noise in the background. I didn't hear the last sentence that she said because I was distracted by the noise in the background. And by the noise, I mean the music.
And this question is something I get from generators and MGs all the time when you're starting to learn your strategy of responding. And in human design, there's a lot of specific vocabulary and language, and waiting to respond kind of sounds in some ways similar to waiting for the invitation, but they're totally different. And it's really important to understand what exactly the response is as a generator or MG, as a sacral being. So I'm going to unpack that further today. Before we get started, a quick reminder that if you're new here, feel free to subscribe and like if you find value from this video. I love staying in touch with you so that I can support you on your human design journey. Also, I have an email newsletter, which you can sign up for below if you want to keep learning and receiving tips about how. First, there is this language of waiting that is important to define. In human design, pretty much every type is asked to wait in some way, whether you're a reflector waiting a lunar cycle, or a projector waiting for the invitation, or as a sacral waiting to respond. And even as a manifester, your strategy is to initiate, but you're still waiting for that urge, that impulse, that thing you're here to initiate. And this waiting is sometimes challenging at first because even though it is exactly what is so great about human design and can help us simplify our life, that we're not approaching life from this place of pushing and forcing and needing to make things happen.
We're doing Renos in a background here. I had myself muted. So I was just trying to think about what she said regarding, you know, manifestors needing to inform and waiting on that. But we're just going to move past that and just to see um, what she has to say.
A lot of times the concept of waiting is a little different. So for the generator or manifesting generator, or what's referred to as sacral beings, because both of you two types, generators and MGs, have consistent access to your life force energy, to your sacral energy, the strategy of waiting to respond or responding essentially means not doing anything until you feel an energy of yes, of your life force saying, I want to do this. Your energy is behind the thing you want to do, not from a mental place, but truly from your body and from your gut.
That is actually a really good explanation. So let's just see what she has more to say.
So, what's super critical to understanding this response is knowing what your sacral yes, no, what your gut response feels like to you, specifically in your body. Now, at first glance, the idea of going with your gut might seem super straightforward and obvious, right? We've all heard go with your gut, but there's a lot to unpack there because really living your design and responding essentially means you only do the things that your gut is a yes for, and you don't do any of the things you say no to. You draw the boundaries, you decline the things that are actually a no, which is oftentimes a lot harder for many.
It's actually very, very difficult for that to happen.
of us, because we want to be the nice person, or we think we need to work super hard, and we have these obligations, right? But the idea is that what makes your design so unique and special is that you have access to this consistent life force. I think of the sacral energy like this inner fire that you have, like in that sort of second chakra sacral area. And when you do things with the full force of your energy behind it, I'm sure you've had that experience of doing something you love and it just felt in flow, right? Maybe you were staying up super late to plan a party for your friend, and you're like on Pinterest putting together the all the decoration or something that you love. And even though it's 3 a.m., you don't feel that tired because your life force, your gut is like, yes, I want to do this. And that's your gift, that because you have access to this, when you're doing the things you enjoy, it's filling you up and it's filling the people around you up as well. So, of course, ideally, you're doing as much as you can from this place of response rather than from a pushing and forcing, doing things that are no, because you're not only putting, I think of anything that's a yes as like putting a log on your fire. So, when you're forcing yourself to do the things that are no, you're not putting logs on your fire. Essentially, the more you can do with your sacral yes, the more life force you're cultivating and sharing with the world. And that feels really satisfying as a generator, as a manifesting generator. That's what you're here to experience, this sense of satisfaction, of life getting to live and create and move the way it wants rather than feeling frustrated and shutting your energy down, which is a key kind of feeling, or what's referred to as the not self as a generator.
I like her sped up voice. I'm kind of following her sped up voice. Her audio feels better with it sped up. um, but I actually have her audio sped up to 1.5 because we're just looking for content here. And um, she is so far explaining content in a very nice way, and it's no wonder why she has 235 subscribers for her 6 videos that she has.
When you have to do things you don't want, your life force gets stifled or redirected in some way. Now, this whole idea of following the things that your life force and your energy wants to do is closely linked to this energy of responding. And it's very different from the wait for an invitation that the projector gets, because the projector purpose is totally different. These are a type of design that are here to guide others. And so the idea and the language of an invitation in human design specifically is about, do you feel seen, appreciated, recognized by the other person? And that's not really a concern for the sacral being. As a sacral being, you're here to share your energy and use your energy and create and build what you love, and that's inherently satisfying to you when you can do that. There's not a concern about being seen by others in the same way that it's really important for a projector. So this whole idea about invitations is not a concern for you. As long as you have your life force energy that's responding, yes, I want to do this. It's like, I think about life just like pulsing yes or no. Yes, I want to go on the trip. Yes, I want to build that piece of furniture. Yes, I want to sing this song. Go ahead and do it, because it's going to light you up and fill you up. And it doesn't really matter if someone else is receiving it in the way that it does for a projector with this waiting for the invitation. Of course, it can still be nice for you as a sacral being to receive recognition, but it's not the central focus of your design, because as a being with consistent life force energy, you're really here to let that energy lead you and guide you to do and create the things you enjoy doing. And a clarification here, a common thing that I hear from generators MGs is, well, but what if I like to rest too? What if I don't want to work that much either? Because they hear projectors aren't here to work. And to that, I say that is totally fine. Sometimes there's this conception that as a sacral being, you're just here to slave away and work and work. And that's not totally true. If there's
You know what? She's actually bringing up very key points here. So I'm going to give her brownie points because of these extra points that she's putting into this. Because, yeah, what if I just don't respond to anything and I don't want to do anything? What if I just want to rest like the rest of them? So, yeah, she brings up a very good point and it needs to be addressed. So, I officially say she's good to subscribe to.
something you enjoy doing that is your work, like maybe you love building tables. I don't know why this is coming as the example, but maybe you're a carpenter and you love building tables and that is your work, so you love doing it. Amazing. But the way you use your sacral energy doesn't have to be something that you're paid for necessarily. And a lot of times, generators, MGs, I see you not even realizing that what you're using your energy for is creating something. So maybe you love using your sacral energy to sing a song or to spend time with your family or to grow your garden, right? It doesn't have to be the thing that is your job. It's just the way your energy likes to move and the activities that or things or experiences that your energy wants to go explore. So, of course, part of really knowing what waiting to respond is like for you is knowing what your sacral response is feels like. What is a yes and what is a no for you? And caveat, obviously, I'm a projector, so I'm not a sacral being. I don't have a defined sacral center that I can refer to. So this is based on what I have seen in my clients and observed in the generators and MGs around me. And there's a lot of language around that response, specifically being located in the gut, right? Kind of in that lower belly area. But I also work with a fair number of clients that have had health issues, chronic health issues. They don't feel so connected to their gut or their body for whatever reason. And even if you don't feel super connected to your physical gut, that's totally fine. As a generator MG, as a sacral being, you have a gut response. So I just want to remind you of that and give you some confidence there that don't worry, like you haven't lost it in any way. And
I hope that in the video she goes a little bit deeper into that disconnect or what different sensations of what it feels like to respond is, because like if this whole video was the last few moments, she kind of skipped the point of the video. She was trying to tell us, oh no, how to wait to respond. Never mind, she didn't skip the point of the video, but she's going into a different topic and she's skipping the point of that. Okay, there we go.
instead, I encourage you to find the language that resonates. So, with your sacral center being life force that is responding to something, a yes could be, just throwing out different examples, like sitting up straighter when you hear about something that you want to go do, or leaning in if someone's like, maybe someone's like, how do you feel about tacos for dinner? And you're like, oh my gosh, yes, that sounds great.
She's actually getting it wrong. This sitting up straight is not from the gut. The leaning in is not from the gut. I'm going to make a correction. The sitting up straight is from the spleen, and the leaning in is from the spleen. Those are physical reactions. The gut is uh-huh, uh-uh. So I need to correct her video because maybe I need to tell you to unsubscribe.
Versus a no could be moving away. Instead of smiling, you're like frowning or you make a face. And of course, the sounds, you're like, oh, that sounds so gross. I don't want that. What else? Low energy, right? So as a sacral being, you probably in your natural state have a good amount of energy for the things you want to do, that you enjoy doing. But if something is a no, that sacral no is, I see it show up in people as procrastination, low energy, thinking they're burnt out, right? And there's different definitions of burnout. I'm going to make a separate video on burnout for sacrals versus non-sacrals because I believe it's different. But those are some examples of sacral yes versus sacral no for you to identify, even if that language of the gut specifically doesn't fully resonate. And the last piece is your gut will not be your mind, obviously. So if there are a lot of words, if there's a lot of story around why you should do something, why it's a good idea, then it's probably not your gut response. So once
Damn, she's really good at making valid points, but she's also really good at skipping valid points. But maybe she's just nervous because you can tell that she's not going off a script, which is nice.
you have this ability, and it can be an ongoing process to discern what is a gut yes or no for you, then you move through life and you just respond, right? The waiting part means you're not going out to make it happen. So for example, maybe you realize that you're unhappy at your current job. And from that place of frustration, the old you pre-human design would have been like, oh my God, I need to apply for jobs. And it's coming from the mind. Your gut, your energy isn't there, but you make yourself sit down and you're like sending out all these emails and applying for things and so forth, right? That's not coming from a response. That on the flip side, let's say you recognize that, right? You're like, oh man, this really isn't working. And then you just go through your life. Maybe your friend invites you for a hike and you feel your gut response of, ooh, that sounds fun. Yes, I'd love to do that. So you go do that and then you're feeling really good. And you get a text from your another friend who works at a company and she invites you to go get coffee and then you're talking and she's sharing about how that company is hiring. And then you feel another response there. And then you go and you sit down at your computer and you apply. And even though from the outside it might look similar, right? That action of applying for something, you've come about it from a totally different way. In that first example, there was the feeling like you needed to make it happen, versus in the latter example, when you're just living life from that, okay, things are going to come to me and I just get to decide yes, no, yes, no. In the latter example, the opportunity dropped in, but it wasn't an invitation in the same way that it would be for a projector because they need to feel like they're recognized. Whereas for you as the sacral being,
Honestly, I'm a little bit lost.
that was just a thing coming in you get to respond to. I hope that clarifies with that example a little bit of the difference of invitation versus the thing to respond to. That's your experience of how you're moving through life. And even though from the general sense it might be called an invitation, right? In human design language and intention and vocabulary, it is different because what matters for you as a sacral being is what is my gut saying? And similarly in that example, if the
I think I think this person is covering too many topics within this video. If you want to go see what's the difference between how to wait to respond, the difference between an invitation. I put that on my channel. I usually don't really self-promote in this particular type of way in these videos, but if you want a different example of this, please go to my YouTube uh, channel. Um, we are going to continue with this recording.
The friend had told you about their company and you just kind of felt like, meh, that would be a gut response as well of no on the other side. So I hope that clarifies the difference between responding versus an invitation. Essentially, they're two different strategies for two different types, and you have different considerations, right? As a sacral being, first and foremost is how is my gut responding? Do I have my energy, my life force behind this or not? And if you're just starting out with this idea of responding, I really encourage you to just practice in all of the little places in your life where you have an opportunity to. The really cool thing about being a generator MG is that you can practice responding to pretty much anything. You present yourself with an option and then you just feel like, how is my body reacting? What is my energy doing? You could be going, maybe you decide you want to go for a walk, your evening walk, and you just throw out to yourself, do I want to go to the park or do I want to go around the neighborhood? Or if you want to simplify it even further, you just
I honestly feel like she could have cut out the last 12 minutes and just got straight to the gut sensing feelings
go, do I want
and talk about what recognition is for an invitation or a projector.
to go around the neighborhood? And like maybe you notice, not really getting too excited about that, too lit up about it. Or maybe you have somebody else to practice with. They throw out the option, well, what about let's go down to the beach? And you're like, ooh, yeah, that sounds great. So that's a way to start practicing. And with the waiting part, really just trusting that when you follow your gut response, the more you're really letting yourself shine as brightly as possible, right? The more you're living your design and kind of tending to that inner fire and glowing brighter aurically. And so more opportunities and synchronicities can come find you. I can't tell you how many sacral beings I've worked with where they think they're just, following their response in kind of these really mundane areas of their life. And then something totally unexpected and synchronistic drops in and they respond to that. So there is this shifting from needing to be in control and making things happen all the time to being slightly more receptive. But it doesn't mean that you don't get to play a really fun.
I have a love-hate relationship with this video because she makes such good points and she's so vibrant, and I get a little bit lost in between, but I think that's my personal ADHD that was self-diagnosed.
Fun role in following what's true for you and creating the synchronicities that you get to receive. So I hope that clarifies the difference between the invitation and waiting to respond. And if you found this useful, feel free to like and drop any comments you have below. I love reading them. Also,
Oh my God, people actually put comments? People comment on our videos? Congratulations for her. That's awesome. Yeah, so I'm I'm neither in nor out. That's all I have to say about that. Thank you for watching. My name is Katie Lynn, and check out my YouTube channel for more react to YouTube channels for human design content. Thank you.